And what do you make of the speculation?
Nothing.
Do you have a date in mind?
No, there's nothing to say.
Max Verstappen's own father just walked into McLaren's hospitality unit, and barely 30 minutes later, F1's transfer rumor mill completely exploded all over again. Jos Verstappen and Max's manager, Raymond Vermeulen, were spotted going into the papaya-colored motorhome at Spa-Francorchamps, then coming back out together, straight back to Red Bull. No statement, no explanation. Just cameras catching two of the most important people in Max Verstappen's career walking into a rival team's building while an escape clause in his contract sits days from activating. This is exactly the kind of paddock detail other channels skim past without a second glance. If you want it broken down properly every single time, subscribe to Orange Army, because the real story here is stranger and far messier than the rumor itself. To understand why this sighting mattered so much, you need the full backdrop. Verstappen to McLaren speculation has been simmering for weeks now, refusing to fully die down. It reportedly started with a secret meeting at the Austrian Grand Prix, where Max was said to be quietly scoping out whether a switch was even possible. Then came Silverstone. Verstappen crashed out late with a rear wing failure, and Dutch media reported tensions with Red Bull spiking hard in the days that followed. McLaren CEO Zak Brown has repeatedly said no seat is available short-term. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has said more or less the same about his own team. Both men kept saying it, and somehow neither denial managed to kill the story outright. So when Jos Verstappen and Vermeulen were caught walking into McLaren's own hospitality unit at Spa, the timing did not feel like coincidence at all. It felt like confirmation. Here's exactly what happened, step by step. On Friday at Spa, Raymond Vermeulen was photographed climbing the steps into McLaren's motorhome. A short time later, Jos Verstappen followed separately, on his own. Witnesses in the paddock said the pair spent roughly 30 minutes inside before re-emerging together and heading straight back toward the Red Bull unit. Within minutes, the image was everywhere across social media, and the surrounding context made it look even worse for McLaren. This came just days after Vermeulen and Jos had already met privately with recently retired Red Bull advisor Dr. Helmut Marko in Amsterdam. 2 meetings, 2 rival teams, 1 father and manager duo, all packed into the same single week. If you were building a case that something was moving behind the scenes, this looked like Exhibit A. Except McLaren didn't stay quiet for long. The team stepped in fast and clarified that the whole thing had nothing to do with Max's future at all. The real reason: Verstappen Racing. Max's own driver management outfit had just signed 15-year-old Belgian karting talent Dries van Langendonk, who happens to already be a McLaren driver development program junior. Jos and Vermeulen weren't secretly scouting a seat for Max. They were simply meeting their brand new signing and his parents inside McLaren's own building, because that's literally where the McLaren junior program operates from. No secret negotiation, no hidden handshake deal for 2027. Just a 15-year-old and his family, sitting down calmly with the people now managing his young career. The mystery had an answer, just not the one the internet desperately wanted. So who actually caused all this chaos? Dries van Langendonk currently leads the British F4 standings at the halfway point of the season, with 4 wins already firmly banked, and he's widely tipped to step up to F3 next year. Verstappen Racing announced the signing just days before the Spa sighting, confirming Van Langendonk stays inside McLaren's junior program while also gaining mentorship, guidance, and simulator access from Max himself. Verstappen called him truly impressed by the sheer pace of his progress from karting into single-seaters. Van Langendonk, for his part, said the dual backing gives him extra simulator time at Max's own private facility and the resources to become the best driver possible. With the F1 grid and a world title as the clearly stated end goal, that's the actual headline here. A 15-year-old, not a driver swap. Here's where it gets more insane, not less. Even with McLaren's explanation now firmly on record, the speculation didn't stop for a second, because the surrounding facts are still very real. Reports from deep within the paddock say talks between Verstappen and McLaren have advanced considerably, to the point of reportedly discussing actual terms. And there's a hard, specific date attached to all of it. Verstappen's contract reportedly contains an escape clause that activates right after the Hungarian Grand Prix. meaning he could, in theory, be completely free to choose between Red Bull and McLaren shortly afterward. So you've got a confirmed, entirely harmless explanation for one specific sighting sitting right on top of an unconfirmed, much bigger story that simply refuses to go away. Both things are true at once. The junior signing is real. The bigger rumor remains stubbornly unresolved. Strip it all back, and here's the real tension underneath. On track, Red Bull has been battling serious reliability issues. The team reverted to its previous rear-wing design after repeated failures with its Macarena concept, the very same failure mode that ended Verstappen's Silverstone weekend early. Off track, his manager and father are now walking in and out of both Red Bull's rival advisors and McLaren's own hospitality unit in the very same week. Technical director Pierre Wash says the fixed rear wing absolutely needs to be race-ready for Hungary. And Hungary is also, notably, the exact race after which, according to multiple separate reports, Verstappen's escape clause becomes fully active. Every single thread in this story, the car, the contract, the meetings, keeps pointing straight at the exact same weekend. That is not a coincidence anyone in the paddock is quietly ignoring. Let's lock in the numbers properly. Dries van Langendonk, 4 wins. Currently leading the British F4 championship at the season's halfway point, expected to graduate to F3 soon. The Verstappen Racing McLaren Jr. arrangement was officially announced just days before the Spa sighting, confirmed by both parties involved, with Van Langendonk remaining firmly on McLaren's development program while gaining full access to Max's simulator facility. Separately, Jos Verstappen and Raymond Vermeulen met Helmut Marko in Amsterdam earlier that very same week. Before the McLaren visit even happened, 2 separate meetings, 2 separate explanations offered, all within the space of roughly 7 days. On track, Red Bull has reverted back to its old rear wing after reliability failures with the newer design, with Pierre Wache actively targeting a race-ready return for the Hungarian Grand Prix. And per Planet F1's own reporting, that same Hungarian weekend is when Verstappen's contractual escape clause is widely understood to activate. Zach Brown and Toto Wolff have both publicly denied a seat is available at their respective teams' denials that, so far, haven't slowed the speculation down one bit. Every piece of this traces back to the same 2-week window, and Hungary is exactly where it all converges. Here's the honest read on all of this. The McLaren hospitality sighting itself was genuinely innocent, a 15-year-old signing his first big management deal. Nothing more than that. But it landed right in the middle of a much bigger, still unresolved story. And that's exactly why it blew up the way it did. Van Langendonk's signing is fully confirmed. The Verstappen to McLaren question is not, and Hungary is now the date everyone in the paddock has firmly circled. If the escape clause is real, and it activates like reports strongly suggest, we could know Max's next move within weeks, not months. We'll be tracking every meeting, every sighting, every denial between now and then, without missing a beat. That's what Orange Army does. We don't just report the headline. We track exactly where it's actually heading. Subscribe now so you don't find out last.